We're about to ask the biggest question in a generation. In or out? And we need a leader.
Life has to be lived in the present. And I think like internet just makes us postpone everything. It just feels like there's no present, future or past ever. It's like a 24-hour party just going on all the time. It's a complete crazy illusion. And you shouldn't get sucked into it. No one should, you know. And it's like
back in 9/11, they knew what technologies were going to be available in the future. They knew what power they were going to get out of these technologies. They knew how they could manipulate this, and if they didn't know it, they were working on ways to manipulate this. So 9/11 happened. They come out with terrorism attacks. They go into war. They come out with laws saying, you know, because you might be a terrorist, we can lock you up for 90 days without any charges. We can get all this information. So they start bringing the fear into you, and they slowly start knocking out your freedom. And they make it sound like it's okay for your freedom to knock out. Yeah? When I say they, I mean the very top guys, the very important people. I've got a few names I can tell you later.
got like this little theory, which is when they developed internet to this new space, virtual space, but it's actually space. Well, it was colonized by a few companies, and only very few companies have got basically the whole of the internet colonized empires. That would be Google, Amazon, and Alibaba or whatever. But there's only a few of them, Microsoft. And it's new territory. It's like Columbus coming across new territory, and we are the ones that inhabit that place. But at the same time, we live in the real world, but now suddenly we're transported into this other world, and part of ourselves that is connected to that virtual world. So we're accessible, our physical world is accessible through this virtual world. So if the companies actually are able to get to us and tell us what to do and what to think in this virtual world, that's going to have true implications in the physical world. It's kind of what you were saying.
This internet freedom, I decide everything's available. Yes, everything's available, but most of us are too lazy to look for it. So even this virtual world that we're living in, we're not choosing it. They're choosing it for us. You know what I mean?
Baudrillard might give a definition along the lines of, a simulation is an imitation of how a real-world process or system operates over time. What if in the same way a person is jacked into the Matrix, living their life in a world that prevents them from ever seeing the real world as it truly exists? What if in our societies today, our postmodern, fragmented, advanced capitalist, media-driven societies, what if we similarly live every day in a world that we accept to be reality that prevents us from seeing the world as it actually is? What if our simulation isn't housed in computer hardware? What if it's all around us? Remember, a simulation is the imitation of a real-world process or system over time. What if in this postmodern society, practically everything about the way that people see their lives is seen through the lens of a complex network of signs and symbols given to them by media and the people around them? And that for the last several hundred years, these signs and symbols that were originally used to directly represent something in the real world have slowly evolved from representing reality to then a media-created copy of reality, to then representing a copy of reality, a copy of that copy, all the way to the point where these signs and symbols no longer resemble anything about reality. And more importantly to Baudrillard, similar to the way we would think of somebody in a computer simulation, that nothing about our lives within our simulation has any relevance to reality as it actually exists anymore. The only thing the vast majority of people will ever know or care about is the simulation.
I do care that people are getting rich off all that data, and that's what it comes down to, because control is about power. Money is power, isn't it? So it's kind of, you know, you're basically giving some your worth to someone kind of taking it without your consent, and it's monetizing, and that bothers me.
This is the age of simulation. This is 100% this postmodern age of simulation, information era. This isn't even the information era now. Now it's simulation, and we think we're happy in that simulation, and it's actually backfiring. And we're not even in control of our own simulation. They are in control of our simulation, and it's giving them power, which gives them money.
Robert Mercer is the fabulously wealthy computer scientist who helped bankroll the election of President Donald Trump.
This stems from back then, from slowly injecting fear, slowly injecting internet, social media. When social media came out, why do I want to put photos of myself and my family?
When Facebook was getting going, I had these people who would come up to me and they would say, you know, I'm not on social media. And I would say, okay, you know, you will be. And then they would say, no, I value my real life interactions. I value the moment. I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector. That's okay. You don't have to participate, but you know, we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying.
Communication, in a sense, you know, it's modifying it, but it's also like making like the real world more invisible. And if it becomes invisible, then it means that it's open to be taken by people that you're not actually fully conscious that they are taking it, you know, resources and stuff like that, because people live within their cell phones, you know, so they don't give a fuck if the space around them is being actually just absorbed by the powers that be. And government and multinationals, they're all governed by people that have been in power for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So all this control shit is just to make rich people richer. And
I call it the race to the bottom of the brainstem to, you know, get people's attention at all costs. Never before in history have 50 mostly male 20 to 35-year-old designers living in California working at 3 tech companies influenced how 1 billion people spend their time.
Hidden away from the media, and there's nothing, very little known about them, that are pulling the strings. The owner of Cambridge Analytica, that are pulling the strings in the background, that are billionaires, and they're the ones that got Trump into power. They're the ones that got Brexit. There's a film on Channel 4 about Brexit.
Social media platforms are designed to find like-minded people. Our software will locate and target people that no campaign has ever targeted before. People who don't and have never voted. 3 million extra votes that the other side have no idea exist.
He even looks like a fucking alien. He looks like a Lizard King, man. Come on, and that's Zuckerberg, the owner of Amazon. You don't see him anywhere. One of the highest people in Google. No one knows their bloody names. Do you know what I mean? These people know how to hide and how to treat the internet and to be involved or not involved. But they also at the same time the biggest owners of the internet. Zuckerberg bought 4 houses when he only had to buy 1 because he wanted privacy, because he knows how it works. Double standards. That's good.
In the old system of broadcasting, you were fundamentally limited by the amount of space in the airwaves. You know, you could only send out 10 channels over the airwaves of television, right? Or even with cable, you had 500 channels. On the internet, everybody can have a channel. Everyone can get a blog or a MySpace page. Everyone has a way of expressing themselves. And so what you see now is not a question of who gets access to the airwaves. It's a question of who gets control over the ways you find people. You know, you start seeing power centralizing in sites like Google, these sort of gatekeepers that tell you where on the internet you want to go, the people who provide you your sources of news and information. So it's not, you know, only certain people have a license to speak. Now everyone has a license to speak. It's a question of who gets heard.
Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google,